Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, I've spoken a lot about tech startups lately on this show, and also I'm very grateful for the fact that I received lots of messages from people all over the world that have said listening to the stories of others actually provides them with comfort that they're not alone on their startup journey, but also it helps them learn from other entrepreneurs that maybe are on a similar journey. So if you're listening to this show today and you've got your own idea and you're thinking of how do I get it into prototype mode, or do I start a Kickstarter page or an Indiegogo campaign? And where do I start? You could find today's conversation quite valuable because today's guest is Tom Haflinger from Zendure, who many of you will probably already know deliver premium charging products for your everyday adventures. So if you don't have your own company or your own startup, but you do travel around a lot and hate being stuck at an airport with no charge on your phone, the fact that their latest product allows you to charge an iPhone X from 0 to 50% in 30 minutes, maybe that will offer you some value too. Because I love hearing and sharing conversations like this one, as it's so helpful to listeners on their own startup journey, as well as people like me that just love a nice new shiny gadget for their travel bag. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to California so we can speak with Tom Haflinger from Zendure. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Tom. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you
Neil.
do?
My name is Tom Haflinger. I'm the founder and chief marketing officer for Zendure. We make electronics with a focus on durability, style, and user-centric design.
So every startup and every new product has a story behind it. So I want to delve a little bit deeper into yours. Can you tell me a little bit more about Zendure and also what put you on this journey?
Yeah, 2003. I started going to Menlo College, and at that time there were some Chinese exchange students, and one of them was Bryan Liu, our co-founder. We became friends. He taught me Chinese. I taught him better curse words in English than the ones he knew, and we formed a friendship based on that, and we kept in touch after college. And one day he said, "Hey, why don't we start a company?"
So every time I get on a plane, I look at the uber cool travel adapters in the in-flight magazine and think, should I? But that's often as far as I get. So I'm curious, what was the inspiration behind the Passport Pro universal travel adapter, which I've read has been called the world's safest global travel adapter? And also maybe just set the scene a little and tell anyone that's not heard of it what it's about and what to expect.
Yeah, so Passport Pro is the follow-up to Passport Classic, which was our first travel adapter. Where it stands apart is in addition to USB PD output for some of the newer devices, it can output up to 30 watts and 3 USB ports. We also offer one-handed operation, a push-button resetting fuse, and as for safety, it has a ground connection, which the previous Passport didn't have.
So we are going to have people listening in many countries all over the world. Am I right in saying that this will fit any plug socket? Is that right?
Almost any plug socket. It's hard to get a truly all-in-one solution because there are a lot of different connectors out there and also different regulations on how you can manufacture something and where you can use and sell it.
So there will be people listening on their own startup journey too, or have their own ideas or their own concepts. So can I ask, once you had the idea for this, how did you go about creating the product itself?
Well, you start with an idea that's more or less an assumption about what's needed in the market. And throughout the formation and operating of a business, I think the biggest thing that you need to do is communicate. And so we started with our assumption about what's needed, but then we had focus groups and we asked friends and family members, preachers, teachers, anyone who would give us their time to see where we were on the right track, where we were a little off base with our assumptions, to make sure that we were creating something that people really wanted.
And once you're at that point, do you then get the prototype? Do you get that done overseas? What happens next?
For some of our latest products, what we've been doing is partnering with a design firm locally that has been sort of crafting our ideas into something real. And then they take it to the manufacturer. We have a whole process of sorting out and selecting who we want to manufacture it with. And they do the communication. More and more, though, we're bringing the design over to our side as we've been capable to bring more people on board. It's a very hands-on sort of personal experience to take an idea and create something, and then find that people actually bring it into their homes, bring it with them traveling. So yeah, there's a lot of steps involved.
So once you've got that idea and you've got the approval from the preachers and teachers and everybody else, and you've got your prototype, you turn to Kickstarter. So I've got to ask, because I ask this of a lot of people that turn to crowdfunding, why Kickstarter and not Indiegogo? And again, I only ask for people listening going through a similar decision-making process.
Yeah, and to the people who are going through that process, good luck. I truly hope it works out well for you. When we started in 2013, Kickstarter was really the place to be. Indiegogo was in the mix, but Kickstarter had the better reputation, and at that time we felt the better feature set to proceed with our first project. We've had a few crowdfunding projects since then. Sometimes we go with Indiegogo, sometimes we go with Kickstarter. We always talk with both companies and work out a plan, and then case by case we decide who we want to go with.
Now, one of the reasons I invited you on the show today was because the new Passport Pro travel adapter that we just talked about had reached its fundraising goal of $30,000 and its first full day of crowdfunding on Kickstarter. And I picked up a few moments ago, you said that you speak to the companies before actually listing, because I think in some people's eyes that are completely new to this world, they think a successful Kickstarter is just uploading a video, publishing your page, and that's it. But there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes before you even get to that stage. So can you just tell me a little about the secret to your successful campaign and all that work involved?
Well, thank you, by the way. Experience paid off a lot. We learn something with every new campaign that we do or every new product that we bring to market. It's really important just from a profitability standpoint that you don't surprise the universe with a new product. You have to build up the anticipation. And one of the ways you do that, of course, is making sure that it is something that people are going to want. So of those, of the 30,000 that we brought in the first day, a lot of those people already knew that our campaign was dropping that day or sometime soon. It's really important on a platform like Kickstarter that you gain momentum because they have an algorithm that determines what to feature based on how things are performing. And so it's better to get 30,000 on the first day than to get 30,000 over the first 3 days. That momentum propels you to more fundraising and more visibility on the platform.
Fantastic. And I suspect another reason it did so well is because the product actually speaks for itself. But can you tell listeners a little bit more about it and why you think it's an essential piece of kit for your travel bag? And assuming you've got one in your travel bag when you're flying around the country.
On the rare occasion that I do, yeah. It just takes one bad travel experience to convert someone. What we try to do is make it so that they don't have that experience before they come to us. Most traditional travel adapters have a built-in fuse, and it's a single-use fuse. Most of these devices aren't really meant to power really power-hungry devices like an industrial hairdryer or a mini fridge or something, and you just don't know what you might accidentally hook up to it. And if you blow that fuse, some of them come with one spare, some of them don't. Some of them you need a screwdriver to replace it. It's not really on anyone's travel itinerary to repair their devices on the go. It doesn't matter if you're traveling for business or for fun. It's that's at home chores. Yeah. It's not really something that you want to have to take into consideration. So we remove that from the equation with a push button resetting fuse. It works a lot like the circuit breaker in your home.
And I also read that the PD Passport Pro, you can actually charge an iPhone X from 0 to 50% in just 30 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It was something that we needed to figure out what our benchmark had to be for performance on the PD port. And it was our feeling that on the iPhone X, the iPhone 8, most phones, getting to 50% goes a long way, both in terms of what you can do with it and also just how you feel. If you can get it to 50%, you kind of feel like maybe you can make it through the day. And 30 minutes didn't feel like too long of a time to wait for that. So that was more or less our benchmark for getting a product that people would find truly useful.
Now, a question I've got to ask, I don't know if you'd probably get to hear this or not, but have you had any feedback from users where you've actually saved them from those embarrassing situations? Do people actually get in touch with you and let you know?
They do on occasion. I like to think that for every one person who does contact us, there are multiple people who have had a similar experience but don't reach out to us, which is totally fine with us, because ideally I think with good user-centric design, you just meet or exceed their expectations. And when something works, it's not a surprise. That's sort of the expectation. So we would rather have someone have a positive, unremarkable experience with our products, if that makes sense. Just sort of well, of course it works. I don't need to write the company and tell them that.
Yeah.
But hopefully they will tell their friends their travel stories.
So where do you go from here? I mean, what's next for both yourself and Zendure? And also, is there anything else that you can share with us today?
Well, we're still a growing company. 5 years in, we're actually just about to celebrate our 5-year anniversary in October. So we're still very much in that first blip of growth. So everything kind of changes. 4 months from now, we look completely different than we look now. As for products, we do have a lot of products in the works. I know that I can't comment on all of them, but one that we do have coming up soon is called Supercord, and it's a USB cable that's triple reinforced with Kevlar. We feel, durability is one of our core tenets, and we reinforce the cable where the wire meets the connector. If you can visualize what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the main breakage point. And then we also use stainless steel connectors, less prone to corrosion than traditional cables. We've been doing a lot of pull testing, a lot of bend testing, and so far it's been outperforming anything that we put it up against. So we're really eager to bring that into the market as well.
Well, I've got a MacBook charger with that exact same problem that you've just visualised there. And so I don't know if you can do a cheaper one than Apple, but that could end up saving me a fortune if you bring one of those out at some stage.
Yeah, at the very least, we want to reduce the cost of ownership if you follow.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there is anybody listening that are interested in your other products, your Kickstarter campaigns, or just want to find out more about the PD Passport Pro, can you remind them of where they can find you online, and also just reach out and contact a member of your team if they have any questions at all?
Absolutely. Our website is zendure.com, Zendure.com. And there you can find our new products, the latest news, and you can also get in touch with us. One thing as a small company, we really value customer support. And so if you need to get in touch with someone, we're not some monolithic black box.
Well, so I cannot thank you enough for coming on today, not just for talking about the PD Passport Pro and your future products and leaving us with a little teaser there, and there's still some other products that you can't talk about, but also for sharing your journey and your story and your experience with Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all those other platforms. It's so useful for people listening. So I hope to have you back on in another 6 months or so, find out about those new products and your journey, but more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you as well. And let's set the date for that 6 months from now. We'll see what happens.
So the big question to everyone listening is, will you be adding the Passport Pro to your travel bag? And what were the most valuable takeaways from today's episode for you? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, or are you on your own startup journey, or you're unsure about Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or maybe you've already been on this journey too and you want to share it with the listeners. I'd love to get you on to share your insights, your expertise, because that's what this podcast is all about. Yes, I mean you on your commute to the office and you going for a quick run. I know you're all there and I know you're listening to me. I've seen the stats, and on this show we have had an amazing couple of weeks and we've had several thousand new listeners joining us on this show. So if you are a new listener, This show is interactive. I give my opinion, the guests give theirs, but the real star of the show is also you. So let me get your voice heard on this show by being a guest, leaving me a virtual voicemail, and you can do that by going to techblogwriter.co.uk. Go to the podcast section, you'll find a nice easy button where you can just record me a virtual voicemail, which I can play on the show. If you're a little bit shy about the microphone and don't like the sound of your own voice, and let's face it, nobody does, even myself, after recording 650 of these, but email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. And equally, you can tweet me at Neil C. Hughes or just send me a quick direct message. I try to make it as easy as possible for each and every one of you to contact me and also get your voice heard on this show. So more than anything, a genuine thank you for your time and for choosing this show to tune into. I know there are 1,000,001 other things vying for your attention, so I really do appreciate it. But thanks for listening, and I will speak to you again tomorrow. So until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.